Hey everyone, I'm Victor Fong. I'm a financial consultant by profession. I'm also a father of two kids. And during the circuit breaker measure where we're all forced to work from home and my kids are going through home-based learning, he gave me this book to read called 52 Things Kids Need from a Dad. And I've been reading it ever since the start of the circuit breaker till now. And every day I read a chapter so that in 52 days I will have completed the book. So today I'm going to read to you from chapter 20. Kids need their dad to understand all three perspectives in the story of the prodigal son. That's my son right there. Okay, so here goes. When was the last time you read the parable of the prodigal son? Years, decades, or ever? Let's take a moment right now to put that story into context and read it in its entirety. Here's my little girl, you can see her. Okay, so back in the 1st century in the Bible, Luke was a respected medical doctor and an accomplished historian. The first few chapters of the Gospel bearing his name record the historically accurate, intimate details surrounding Jesus' birth, baptism, ancestry, and the 40 days he was tempted by the devil in the desert. Luke ends his Gospel recording the events of the Last Supper, the crucifixion, the resurrection, and Jesus' ascension into heaven. In between, Dr. Luke delivers compelling accounts of Jesus' miracles, prophecies, and teachings. So Jesus' most engaging teaching method was the use of parables. They are fictional allegories he told to make a point. So as the greatest teacher of all time, he knew how to weave an engaging story with the purpose of teaching a singular truth. So for example, the parable of the Good Samaritan answers the question, who is my neighbor? Right? And the parable of the rich fool, whose main character keeps building bigger and bigger barns, demonstrates that worldly wealth doesn't last. The parable of the four soils represents how seeds of God's truth is received or rejected by four different kinds of people. Luke chapter 15 records Jesus telling the parable of the prodigal son. You've heard it before, but good stories like this deserve multiple reading and in-depth examination. So here we go, in Jesus' own words. The man has two sons. The younger son told his father, I want my share of your estate now before you die. So his father agreed to divide his wealth between his sons. A few days later, his younger son packed all his belongings and moved to a distant land. And there, he wasted all his money in wild living. About the time his money ran out, a great famine swept over the land and he began to starve. He persuaded a local farmer to hire him, and the man sent him into the fields to feed his pigs. The young man became so hungry that even the pots he was feeding the pigs looked so good to him, but no one gave him anything. When he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, at home, even the hired servants have enough food to spare, and here I am dying of hunger. I will go home to my father and say, Father, I have sinned against both heaven and you. I am no longer worthy of being called your son. Please take me on as a hired servant. So he returned home to his father, and while he was still a long way off, his father saw him coming. Filled with love and compassion, he ran to his son, embraced him, and kissed him. His son said to him, Father, I have sinned against you. I have sinned against heaven. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But his father said to his servants, Quick, bring the finest robe in the house and put it on him. Get the ring for his finger and sandals for his feet, and kill the calf we've been fattening. We must celebrate with a feast. For this son of mine was dead and has now returned to life. He was lost, but now he's found. So the party began. Meanwhile, the older son was in the fields working. When he returned home, he heard music and dancing in the house, and he asked one of the servants, What is going on? Your brother is back, he was told, and your father has killed the fattened calf. We are celebrating because of his safety. The older brother was angry and wouldn't go in. His father came out and begged him, but he replied, All these years I've slaved for you, and you never once refused to do a single thing you told me to. And in all the time you never gave me even one young goat for a feast with my friends. And yet, when this son of yours comes back after squandering your money on prostitutes, you celebrate by killing the fattened calf. His father said to him, Look, dear son, you've always stayed by me, and everything I have is yours. We had to celebrate this happy day, for your brother was dead and he's come back to life. He was lost, but now he's found. If you want to read this chapter, it's actually in Luke chapter 15, verse 11 to 32. Theologians would say that Jesus was teaching that day about God's unconditional love. That no matter what you have done, He will always celebrate the day when the lost person finally surrenders grace. That, of course, is the ultimate grace for all of us. Right? But I believe there are three additional lessons that we can be gleaned from this parable. Lessons that all fathers need to understand and file away for future reference. You probably already know what I'm talking about. The father's response throughout the entire story reminds us to be patient with our children. They're going to disappoint us. They will turn their backs on us. they may squander our hard-earned money on wild living. The example of a prodigal's father models how we need to keep the door open. We need to wait expectantly. When our prodigal children begin to take a few steps back, we run to them and get ready to party. Put yourself in the shoes of the prodigal son. The world grab him and suck the life out of him. If you can prevent that from happening to our children, that's tremendous. But some things are out of our control. Even before his money ran out, the young man probably had tinges of regret and remorse. At his lowest point, what do you think of? He's dead. We need to make sure our children know they can always come home. Finally, there's the older son. We can't blame him for being jealous. The whole time they're growing up, his trophy little brother probably get a bigger dose of mom and dad's attention. What is this faithful son doing when the home party starts? He's out working in the field. Of course he's ticked. Not surprisingly, the older brother is not quick to forgive and forget. Thankfully, the father didn't blow him off. Father knows just what to say. Father phrasing, he says, son, we both know your little brother has been messing up. He deserves a good trip to the woodshed. But you have to admit, you're worried about him too. More than anything, this is a time to celebrate. By the way, I know I haven't thanked you enough for who you are and what you do. You make me proud. If you need something, just ask. What is mine is yours. So you gotta admit, there's pretty some good stuff in those parables. So the key takeaway from this lesson is, if a son or daughter turns their back on you, don't turn your back on them. Psalm chapter 133, verse 8 to 10 says, the Lord is compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in love. He will not always accuse, nor will he harbor his anger forever. He does not treat us as our sins deserve, or repay us according to our iniquities. With that, I end chapter 20, and I hope that it speaks to you, to your hearts, and learn to take care of your son or your daughter. Alright, I have recorded chapter 1 to 19 in every chapter in each separate YouTube video. If you'd like to take a look at those videos and learn from them, feel free to visit my YouTube channel, Victor Fong. Alright, click the subscribe button and click the bell notification so you receive a notification whenever I release a new video. With that, here ends my chapter reading for this book. I hope you enjoy it. I'll see you in my next video.